Hey everyone, I decided to come back on today and talk more about what happened yesterday. I just didn't get much sleep last night because of it. I also canceled a trip today because I'm literally scared to get into another transportation vehicle at the time. It's sad, but I tried. But I just couldn't. I tried telling myself it would be okay to get back into another ride with another transportation company, and being that this is the second time I've had problems with transportation, I tried my best to weigh the good and the bad, and for some reason, like, the bad part of it is that right now I'd rather be without the medication, the prescription medication, than to get back in another car with an angry man and risk that chance of being stranded again in the rain and the cold. So as people can see when I put into my title, when I said Drake fan, and the reason I put in there Drake fan, because this boy was pushing the agenda that Drake is not what Kendrick Lamar has put out there in songs. And like I said yesterday, I kept telling this young guy that I can only give you my opinion. I can't speak for anybody, or I can just tell you how I feel and what my opinion is. And so, like, when the whole conversation was going on, like, before it even got to the whole racial part, where it started becoming more clear that he was just very angry at what he considered to be white people. Is when he kept making mention of, and when he turned around to do his yelling right before I asked to get out of the car, because I didn't want it to go any further. So the conversation about Drake, because he was playing Drake on the radio continuously back to back. And when asked how I felt about him, I gave my opinion about him. And he literally was telling me that when I made a mention of Drake being, born in Toronto, Canada, and having his home there in Toronto, the mansion that he flooded out, he insisted on I was totally wrong, that Drake was born in Texas and was a citizen of Texas, and that he was not from Canada, he was not born in Canada. And I was like, no, he was born in Canada, Toronto, Canada. He got pretty mad and made the statement that he knows hip-hop, and that obviously, I guess, my skin color depicts that I don't know hip-hop. He did get very angry, sit there when he was talking about trying to hold the black man down, that's what this is all about, which I thought was kind of weird because it's actually a black man that's beefing with a black man. It's not a white person beefing with the black man. I mean, Drake is mixed. Kendrick is from the African American heritage. So where do you get it's the white people trying to bring him down and white people are trying to hold him down? And when I made the mention that I'm mixed. My skin color doesn't show it. Like, I come from a long history of sitting there in Williams and Ruffins. That's where my roots are. My grandmother, which passed away when I was only 4 years old, was from the long line of Sitting Williams, from the Bertie County area. And my grandfather, which I never got to meet, he passed away prior to me being born, from cancer. He had lymphoma, and back then they didn't have treatments for it, so he passed within 6 months, my dad said. And he was a Ruffin. My grandmother had 12 kids, my dad being the baby. And out of those 12 kids, 6 were born off a man by the name of John Henry Ruffin, and the younger 6 were born off of a man by the name of Samuel John Ruffin. And people think that's weird because she married 2 guys with the last name Ruffin, but she did. It's well documented in genealogy. But that's where my dad was born into that family, and I was born to him. So to realize the boy was that racial yesterday and was getting that angry over an opinion about Drake, and a fact that obviously when you look back on the situation, I knew more about the birthplace of Drake and more about hip-hop than he actually knew, because he swore up and down that Drake had nothing to do, obviously, with Canada. It was just a weird situation to be in. Like, when asked your opinion about someone that is in the public eye and you give your opinion, you should not be attacked for that opinion. And I stated that many times. That's my opinion. He literally got mad and was like, so it's okay that Kendrick goes to the Super Bowl and is singing about pedophilia? I was like, I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that Drake is right. They both went hard at each other. Kendrick ended up winning the battle. Okay, you're a Drake fan. Obviously, I have nothing against Drake. But like I said yesterday, I made the comment, I would not let him around my kids or grandkids. I just wouldn't. If you can keep people that are convicted of sex crimes like that, like with Baca, then I wouldn't want them around my kids and grandkids. And by far, nobody's perfect in this world, but allegations are allegations, and you don't want to convict a person beforehand, but you have to look at who they're hanging around. And then you have to look at what you do know and what you have seen out of these allegations. And the boy also was defending the diddler. Literally saying that that was just also a way for the, as he said it, the government to keep a black man down and to put a black man away. He claimed that Diddy would be released. So obviously I kept thinking to myself, this boy either has a severe problem with understanding right from wrong, not understanding that kissing on a young girl and having conversations with a 14-year-old and saying that you will sleep with a girl just because she looks like a woman at 16, 17 years old makes it right somehow. And you're in the public eye and people see this, kids see this. My opinion is never going to be that that's right. Never. So I don't think I said anything that should have been that harmful to him for him to treat me the way he did and to literally scare me so bad that I would have rather stood in the freezing rain than to have been in a car and still going to my appointment. Being that cars like that have child locks. It's a scary situation when you are in a car and you know that you can't get out. That he has control over that door lock. It's just a situation I wouldn't want nobody to be in. And this ain't the first time I've had trouble with transportation. If it was the first time, it may be a little easier to handle, but there was an incident last year. And that guy is still stalking me to this day. Because they don't realize these transportation companies, of course, get your address. And so then they know where you live. They know your name. They know your phone number. And I'm still being stalked by one of the guys from a different company from last year. Medical transportation is really good, like for people that don't have a car and they do have to get to appointments and live further than. I got put out into an apartment after being homeless for 3.5 years, and it's towards a country area. There's no bus lines around me. I can't even walk somewhere to go get on a bus. I am pretty far out. That's the first place that came open, and this is the first apartment that became open to put me in. So, of course, at the time when you're looking at that and you're living off of SSI, of course, I took it. Not knowing that I would be going through this much issue with transportation. I've used transportation for a couple of years now since I've been living at this place. And I've been living here for 2.5 years. And I have never run into issues until last year and this year. It's just a very horrible thing, but there's nothing that I said that was so far out of the way that you haven't already heard and that you already should know. Like, if he was a true hip-hop fan, he would know that Drake was born in Canada. He would know that his dad, yes, was a drummer from, I believe, the New Orleans area, and his mom is listed down as, I think, a Jew. She's got Jewish blood in her. And that he was born in Canada. He does have dual citizenship. It's like you hear people say, if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. But when I gave my opinion, that was my opinion, and I kept saying that. For him to get so angry at my opinion, just because I said I wouldn't let this guy around my kids, that you go on to say that the things that he's being accused of are okay, and that the things that P. Diddy has been, the diddler, as I call him, that is okay when it's not. I think the boy needs help. I think he has, in my opinion, I think he has racial issues. And he's so mad at the government that he wanted to prove a fact yesterday that somehow the white people are in the wrong. And I am far, 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 far from racist. Far. I have grandkids that are mixed, and I would never look at them and see them any different than being a human being and being part of my heart. I have son-in-law that is of color, African American heritage, and I would never, ever look at him and see him any different. My dad didn't raise me to be that way. My dad never raised me to be that way. But yeah, that's where I'm at today, is scared to get back in another ride. Scared to be profiled, scared to be condemned. I don't know the word to use. Just scared to be in that position again and being put out in the cold rain because of my opinion on someone. But thank y'all for listening, and being that I don't have a ton of people I talk to, I pretty much stay to myself nowadays. Being that I was abused by another man at the beginning of last year severely. He's still in jail, looking at prison time for kidnapping, and he's not the only one. I had a friend do it. That's another story for another day, but he's also waiting for trial. That I've literally kept men away from me since those two incidents happened. So I've been single and loving my cats and them loving me and staying to myself, and to have a guy attack me like that during a ride for medical transportation is sad. That's why I won't even let a man in my house right now, is the fear of men. I hate to say that, but I have a severe fear of men. The last one I let come to my home when I was in a relationship with him, I got to know him before I even let him come around me. And he was fine to begin with, and then wasn't even here a couple of days before he attacked me. And since then, I have not been able to let another guy come through that door except to pick me up. A friend, he has picked me up and took me to the store, but he can't always do that because he's a truck driver. So that's where it's at. Like I said, thank y'all all for listening, and just be safe out there, people, because you never know who you're running into or what you're going to encounter. So just be safe out there, and I appreciate everybody listening. Bye for now.